Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I am bringing to you guys is a video on the New World 1.3.4 weekly update that we have just received news on. This update contains some fixes and also changes to tuning orbs, which is going to be integrally important for most players at the end game level. If you're level 60 plus, you're probably going to be interested in this. It's quite a small update, quite a compact one, but it has got some really useful things in. So I'm going to cover it through here just very quickly on the channel. Before we jump fully into the video, if you haven't already done so and you are new to the channel, please do drop a subscribe down below, as it massively helps to support me and my content here. And other than that, guys, let's jump into it. So the first thing here, as you will see, is the New World 1.3.4 downtime will begin at 11 PM PT or 7 AM UTC on March the 8th, which gives you few hours from when this video will be going live. Now it says this week's update includes fixes and changes from tuning orb cooldowns alongside fixing some general key issues. So the first thing that you will see here is the general updates and fixes. Weapons, we've seen a couple of changes here to both the sword and the void gauntlet. With the sword, it's specifically on the leaping strike ability, and what they've done is fixed an issue which caused this ability to be interrupted if the player was hit by a late attack. Obviously not as intended, and that would be really great for a lot of people playing Sword and Shield, because I do know a lot of people getting annoyed about this, so it's good that that's been addressed pretty swiftly. Now, same for Void Gauntlet here. Refreshing Harvest fixed an issue where this passive ability would incorrectly reduce the cooldown from any damage taken rather than only damage taken from Harvest Essence. So, of course, you know, it's basically giving us a refreshing move perk for free before. Now they've fixed that, so it should just be from the Harvest Essence one, which makes a lot more sense. So, for those of you, the Void Gauntlet thought your cooldowns were quicker. They were. Be aware now, you'll see times go back up, so just be aware of those cooldowns. Trade skills, we've seen login and crafting stations changed. With login, we've seen a rework to the login XP curve, with most of the focus on the first 100 levels. We felt that leveling logging, especially at the lower levels, was progressing slower than we would like, so we have sped up the entire curve to make the experience feel smoother. And also they've changed crafting stations. They've fixed an issue preventing a number of characters matching an uncommon criteria while playing on a German or French language client from interacting with crafting stations. So hopefully for those people on German and French clients, that should be fixed. And I think the login thing is going to be really good, because a lot of players are put off because it does take quite a while. I do think that level 100 to 200 is still a grind, so don't be fooled by this. It's still going to be a pretty tricky task to get yourself all the way up to 200. I'm about 185 right now, and that's with doing Wordwood and Ironwood every time I see them, and yeah, it does take a while. So probably not something you're going to burst out in one go, but it is a little bit better to get those first 100 levels a lot easier, so that's going to be a positive for most players. Now, they've also done some changes to war here, which is where they've fixed an issue where the war would not occur if the defending company had no members. This was, you know, being a little bit cheesed around, basically, let's say, by a few companies on some big PvP servers where they were intentionally reducing the number of members to 0 before a war, and then the war wouldn't happen. So now that has been fixed, which is really good. And also they've fixed an issue where war cost was not being refunded if the server was in maintenance during the siege window. Again, you should now get your money back for this, which is great, because a lot of us were losing money when we'd already planned wars, and then the maintenance was announced afterwards. So yeah, that's a good one that we get that money back. Now, as well as this, expeditions have had a tweak, which is where they've fixed an issue that was preventing players from advancing past the glyph puzzle at the beginning of the Lazarus Instrumentality expedition. Personally, hadn't seen or experienced this, but when I read through the notes, I was happy to see that something I hadn't heard of has been fixed, which means they're working kind of ahead of time, if you will, which is great. Hopefully anybody that had experienced that, you shouldn't see it again now. This is the big one, Expedition Orbs. What they've done here is fixed an issue where mutated Expedition tuning orbs could only be purchased once per week instead of once every 3 days as intended. Of course, with the February update, that was changed, so now you should be able to get them once every 3 days as well, like they wanted you to. Also, we'll see here on Garden of Genesis and Lazarus Instrumentality, their tuning orbs can now be purchased once per day. Now, this is down from once every 3 days, and does mean that if you are getting your expertise up, especially going from 590 to 600 if you're coming back to the game, or even lower with the amulets and jewelry, that sort of thing, you can get this up pretty quickly now just by buying an orb every single day. I'm assuming they're still going to cost the same amount as they do now, but it's going to allow a lot more accessibility to this content, which is fantastic. It's going to allow a lot more players to practice these runs before going into the mutation. Again, fantastic. And on top of that, it's going to make it much more accessible for players of all levels, all companies, you know, whether they're rich or not. They're going to be able to get involved with this and get their expertise up to then be able to contest territories in turn if they want to, which has a knock-on effect on the whole game and overall is a massively positive change. So I really like this. It says these changes will not affect orbs that are currently in cooldown from a recent purchase. However, all future purchases will reflect the new shorter cooldowns. So this is a really, really good thing. And you'll see this as soon as your current cooldowns have expired. Now, also, you will see here input buffering. They have fixed an issue where inputs buffered before a player was affected by a crowd control effect, such as stagger, stun, and knockdown, would activate when the effect ended, instead of more recent inputs. The crowd control effects now clear the input buffer when they are first applied. So this is what I was talking about a couple of videos ago on the channel, where I was saying sometimes the weapon swapping wasn't working properly, and sometimes it was, and it was doing an ability because you'd swapped back to a different weapon. The whole queuing thing was going a bit out of the window with that, sometimes with the stagger, stun, and knockdowns. So that should be now addressed and fixed. Again, really quick turnaround. It's only been about a week, which is really, really good progress from AGS, and it's fantastic from the New World team to see that already addressed. They've also fixed an issue where attempting to use an ability and then swapping weapons would incorrectly attempt to use the ability on the new weapon that shared the same hotkey. Again, literally what I've just said, and within a week that's been fixed, so we can't ask for much more than that. They've fixed it as soon as possible after they've put a new system in, which is amazing, and those were two of my biggest issues with PvP fluidity at the moment. So those being fixed should be a lot better, and we should all have a smoother experience. Overall, I am very excited for those, but I'm also really excited to get more hands-on with plenty of expeditions, at least one a day, you know, running those backwards and forwards. You should be able to try and get your named items a lot easier from both Genesis and Lazarus now, seeing as you are going to be able to run them at least once a day, if not a couple of times a day if you save up some keys and pair up with friends and company members, etc. So that's a pretty good one, and I think overall, good QOL change, good knock-on effect, and this is a great change to PvP especially, but will also be really useful in PvE as well. Makes it the combat a lot smoother. So overall, a very compacted little update, but something that is going to be very good and have a great effect on the game. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Very quick little update, just keeping you in the loop with everything, making sure you're on top of all the news and all the latest and greatest from New World. Like I said at the beginning, if you have enjoyed today's video, please do drop me a like and subscribe down below, as it massively does help to support my channel. And other than that, that is going to be it for today, but I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for your time, and I will catch you again very shortly on a brand new upload. Take care, guys, and peace.